Imagine looking across a valley 50,000 years ago and realizing that not every person in the distance belongs to your species. One group might be Neanderthals. Farther east, Denisovans occupied parts of Asia. On an Indonesian island, a tiny human species lived beside animals found nowhere else. And somewhere between all of them were people like us. Humanity was not a single line marching toward the present. It was a crowded family tree. Different kinds of humans adapted to different landscapes, met one another, competed, exchanged genes, and sometimes disappeared. Today, Homo sapiens is the only surviving human species, but being the last does not mean we were destined to win. Strength, brain size, and time on Earth cannot explain our survival by themselves. There was no single final battle in which our species defeated everyone else. The real story unfolded over thousands of years through unstable climates, isolated populations, competition, interbreeding, and chance. To understand it, we should begin with the human species that endured longer than any other we know, Homo erectus. Homo erectus appeared in Africa roughly 2 million years ago. Compared with earlier human relatives, it had longer legs, shorter arms, and proportions suited to walking efficiently across open ground. Groups moved beyond Africa and eventually reached Western Asia, China, and Indonesia. Their success was not based on one perfect environment. It came from surviving in many of them. Homo erectus produced stone tools with designs that persisted for immense spans of time. This was not necessarily a lack of imagination. A tool does not need constant redesign when it reliably cuts meat, breaks bone, and works wood. Homo erectus survived for well over 1 million years, making our recorded history look microscopic beside theirs. But endurance is not immortality. The youngest known Homo erectus fossils come from Java and date to roughly 110,000 years ago. The local environment was changing, while the last groups had limited territory and little contact with distant relatives. When a population becomes small and isolated, every drought, disease, failed hunt, or lost child matters more. There may never have been one dramatic moment when the final Homo erectus disappeared. Their numbers could simply have fallen until recovery was no longer possible. After surviving longer than any other known human species, their branch ended quietly. Neanderthals present a different mystery. They were powerful, compact humans adapted to the cold environments of Europe and Western Asia. Broad chests and shorter limbs helped conserve heat, while large noses may have helped warm freezing air. They made specialized tools, controlled fire, hunted dangerous animals at close range, and cared for injured members of their communities. Their lives required planning, memory, cooperation, and courage. Neanderthals were not separated from us by an uncrossable wall. When Homo sapiens expanded into Eurasia, the two populations met and had children. Many people alive outside Africa still carry a small percentage of Neanderthal ancestry. Part of their population was not erased, it was absorbed into ours. Even so, distinct Neanderthal populations vanished from the fossil record around 40,000 years ago. Several pressures probably acted together. Their communities were often small and scattered. Rapid climate swings repeatedly transformed forests and open hunting grounds. Homo sapiens entered many of the same regions and pursued some of the same animals. Our species may also have maintained broader social connections. A distant community could provide mates, stone, food, or knowledge after a local disaster. An isolated Neanderthal band had fewer options when several bad years arrived in a row. Competition alone did not destroy them, and climate alone does not explain everything. But combined with low numbers, both could turn ordinary hardship into an irreversible decline. Then there are the Denisovans, a population discovered in a way that sounds almost impossible. In a Siberian cave, researchers examined a tiny finger bone. DNA recovered from it did not belong to a modern human or a Neanderthal. It revealed another branch of the human family, one that had been almost invisible in the fossil record. Only a small collection of Denisovan remains has been identified, yet their genetic footprint reaches across a huge part of the world, with especially strong traces among Papuan and other Melanesian peoples. One Denisovan-related genetic contribution became extraordinarily useful. A version of the EPAS1 region helped ancestors of modern Tibetans cope with the thin air of high altitude. A human population known from only a few physical remains still influences how people breathe and survive on the Tibetan plateau today. We do not know exactly when the Denisovans disappeared as a distinct population. They may have lived in scattered groups across enormous distances. Some groups probably died out, while others were absorbed through interbreeding. Their story reminds us that extinction is not always complete. A population can disappear from the landscape while parts of it continue inside the genomes of living people. On the island of Flores, evolution produced an entirely different kind of human. Homo floresiensis stood only about 1 meter tall. Its brain was much smaller than ours, but it made stone tools and survived in a world of giant rats, Komodo dragons, and the small elephant relative called stegodon. Flores was separated from neighboring land by dangerous sea crossings, and isolation shaped evolution there. Large animals can become smaller when food is limited, while small animals may grow larger when familiar predators are absent. Homo floresiensis may be a human example of this island effect. The fossils found at Liangbua Cave are roughly 100,000 to 60,000 years old, while stone tools at the site continue to around 50,000 years ago. That timing is important because Homo sapiens was spreading through the wider region, but there is no evidence of a simple invasion or massacre. On a small island, extinction needs no spectacular villain. A volcanic eruption, changing rainfall, the loss of prey, a new disease, or competition from newcomers could devastate a population that already numbered only a few thousand, or perhaps far fewer. The evidence tells us that Homo floresiensis disappeared. It does not yet tell us precisely how. So why did Homo sapiens remain when the others did not? Intelligence is an incomplete answer. Neanderthals were intelligent. Denisovans adapted to extreme environments. Homo erectus survived far longer than we have. Homo floresiensis solved the problems of island life with a small body and a small brain. Our advantage may have come from the size and flexibility of our networks. Homo sapiens exchanged materials over long distances and shared techniques between communities. If one band found a safer route, a better tool, or a new source of food, that information could spread. Knowledge could travel farther than the person who discovered it. But even this is not a complete explanation. Geography mattered, population size mattered, climate and disease mattered, interbreeding mattered, luck mattered. We should not imagine Homo sapiens as the inevitable champion of a contest. Evolution has no trophy waiting at the finish line. The other humans were not failed attempts to become us. Homo erectus crossed continents. Neanderthals endured repeated Ice Age climates. Denisovan genes still help people live at extreme altitude. Homo floresiensis survived for tens of thousands of years on an isolated island. For most of our history, the word human could have described more than one living species. Now only our branch remains. Yet when we examine our DNA, our tools, and the ground beneath ancient caves, the missing branches are still there. We are not standing above them. We are carrying fragments of their story with us.